And the other thing that we have recently learned because of the amazing technology of all of our new MRI machines that is just fascinating is that now they can go in and they can look at and they can see that when a person is experiencing pain, all areas of the brain are actually activated and working. Parts of the brain that are not supposed to have anything to do with pain whatsoever are now firing, and they're sending messages and they're overworking, and this is something that changes, and it literally changes the shape of your brain. So people who have chronic pain, their brain is literally different than what it is compared to people who don't have chronic pain, and this is an important thing to keep in mind. So the next term that we're going to talk about that happens for so many people with significant pain or chronic pain is that they end up in a position where they're catastrophizing. And what that means, and the definition that we're going to look at here, is the ability to foresee anything other than the worst possible outcome, however unlikely, or experiencing a situation as unbearable or impossible when it's just uncomfortable. So again, the chemicals in the brain change, the neural pathways of the brain change, and what happens is that when this brain gets into the state of catastrophizing is that you can have that leaf brush up against your leg and now you're in debilitating chronic pain. Or maybe you picked up a gallon of milk and your brain is oversensitized and everything is not working appropriately, and now it says that your neck just blew out a disc, or you ruptured a vertebrae, or something crazy like that. It essentially turns molehills into mountains, and it makes things so much more severe when there's really not anything going on at all. And this can really change your life. You can have a ton of mental issues, depression, anxiety, fear, all these different things end up happening because your brain has literally lost its mind. So when we said you're not crazy in the very beginning of this curriculum, we absolutely mean that that's totally true and that you are truly experiencing pain. But again, the story that has been created is not necessarily what's exactly true. And how we're going to talk about that next is we're going to show you what happens within your brain and your unique neural signature. So there is a part of your brain called the somatosensory cortex, and every part of your body is registered in this part of your brain, and your brain dedicates a certain amount of the brain to sense certain things. So for example, the amount of brain area that it gives to your fingers and sensing what's going on in your fingers is very significant. The amount of neural tissue that it gives to sensing what's touching your face or your lips in particular. You could take you can take one of your own hairs and draw it across your lip and you're going to feel that, or you can take that same hair and draw it across your finger and you might not feel it, or you draw it across your knee and you don't feel it at all and you actually have to put significant pressure. So all of these capacities end up in a position where they end up changing. And one of the ways that we talk about that is that's your neuroplasticity. And the plasticity of your brain literally changing when you're going into chronic pain, as well as when you can shift out of chronic pain, is that it changes the state of your brain. And here's how I like to explain that to my patients, is that if we're diving in the water and I can see this beautiful crystal clear Caribbean water, we're in Belize or we're in Micronesia, and the water is exceptionally clear. I can see all the different colors of the fish, I can see all the different colors of the coral, I can see the different shapes of the coral, I can see the dolphins swimming by and the sea turtles and the manta rays, and I can see those off in the distance, and I know that I'm safe because I can see everything that's going on. What happens in a person who is experiencing chronic pain or consistent neural matrix issues is that all of a sudden that same image goes totally cloudy and clear. And they lose the ability to be able to recognize what's going on in the water. So there might be a sea turtle swimming by, but because I can't tell that it's a sea turtle, my brain says, oh my gosh, that's a shark, we have to panic, we're in our major danger mode, and then it amplifies and it puts us into a state of, and stories that are just not true. So it's really important to understand that we need to be able to clean up our somatosensory cortex and what's happening within our brain so we can actually have a functional life where our brain isn't panicking all of the time when it comes to chronic pain.